We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a podcast that dives into the craft of songwriting, explores creative processes and celebrates the artists that are shaping the music world. I'm your host, Simon Fink, and thank you so much for tuning in. Our guest today is one of our absolute favourites. Today we're welcoming back to the podcast Katie Gavin. Now you might know her best as the frontwoman of the queer electro-pop band Moona, but Katie is stepping into the spotlight solo today with her debut record, What a Relief. This stunning collection of songs showcases why Katie has become one of the most compelling songwriters of recent years. With What a Relief, she demonstrates her remarkable talent for writing deeply honest and personal songs that hold nothing back. Sonically, this album is a bit of a throwback, taking inspiration from early 2000s Lilith Fair vibes, so think Alanis Morissette, Annie DiFranco and Fiona Apple. Those influences are woven beautifully throughout this brand new record. Now, in today's episode, we chat with Katie about What a Relief and how she approaches songwriting for her solo work versus her work in Moona. We dive into the new sonic direction of this record and how she committed to learning new instruments for the project. We also reminisce about when Moona was last in Australia and our record store hangouts, and then we also try and pin down when Katie might return to Australian shores in support of this brand new solo record. Now, we want to extend a huge thank you to Rhiannon for her help with today's episode. And don't forget, What a Relief is out right now. Impress Recordings have released a very, very cool vinyl variant of the album, so we'll put that in today's show notes. Please make sure you go and grab a copy. While you're in today's show notes, don't forget to check out our website and follow us across all of our socials to stay up to date with all things This Song Is Yours. With that, let's get into it. Here is our conversation with Katie Gavin.
But I've seen baby lizards running in the river when they open their eyes, even though no one taught them how or why. So maybe when you kiss me, I can let you see.
Please welcome back to This Song Is Yours, Katie Gavin. Katie, hello. How's it going?
Hi, I'm good. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming back. I know that we've had Moona on before, but I'm incredibly excited to chat to yourself about the debut record from Katie Gavin. It's What a Relief is the title. How are you feeling with this collection of songs coming out now?
It feels really good. For some of these songs, it's been a long time coming. Some of these songs are like as old as 2016, so it just feels it feels good to say to them, like, you're free finally, you know. They just get to go out and live their lives now.
I absolutely love that. You and I had the honor of hanging out with yourself and the band when you were previously here in Australia last year, and we went record shopping, and at the time there was a lot of selections from yourself that I maybe wouldn't have placed. I maybe wouldn't have kind of thought that might be something that you do enjoy listening to. And obviously people are multifaceted when it comes to their music choice. But now listening to What a Relief, a number of those choices that you made in the record store now make so much more sense in terms of, I think at the time and in the press for this record, Lilith core seems to be a word that I'm hearing a lot. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's kind of like the easiest way to explain my influences. I was trying to remember what records I picked out in the store. I think Naomi found me a Tori Amos record because it's like I can't talk about influences as a songwriter without talking about Tori. But I was definitely raised on like those women like Sarah McLachlan and Alanis Morissette and Tori, and definitely Tracy Chapman. And so it was cool to like have a chance to really explore that sonic universe. It's also so funny to me, like realizing that there are people who don't know this side of me. It's like, of course, because people only see what you're putting out. But yeah, it's cool that now this is a part of my identity publicly as well.
100%. I think even even last year when selecting some records, I think both Naomi and Joe came over with other items that seemed to be a surprising kind of choice. But you were like, of course, how could I forget? I think the Chicks was one of them. I think that there was one or two others that just kind of played into this. Now what makes sense for this beautiful record that you've released. One thing I noticed across What a Relief was the perspective of songwriting and subject matter, if you will. I think that there's some really beautifully tender moments on this record. There's some great songwriting in terms of relationships and love and whether it be romantic or sexual in nature. But there's also some songs across this record that are very, I want to say realistic is probably the simplest term to put it in, but there's the non-extreme parts, the most to the point like angles on some of this songwriting, and I found it very kind of refreshing in a way. I was curious for you, was that, and your songwriting is always kind of from a unique perspective, but did you find, I guess, an interesting through line with these songs when you started to kind of put them together and I guess look at what the album was being built as?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's funny. There must be something with like my motivation as a songwriter, because a big part of starting Muna was feeling like, oh, I want representation of like the kind of love that I experience, like queer love. I want like pop songs that are about the queers. And then I think like that desire for representation, like expands to other, experiences I have of real life. Like with a song like As Good as It Gets, I was really interested in trying to depict like what a relationship feels like when you've been in love with somebody for a while and like maybe the chemicals have worn off and you have routines together. And I'm just really interested in like that question of what you can, what we can like expect from love. And then also like, I think one of the things that was cool about making the solo record with a pop project, you can sometimes feel like you're restricted in terms of like the matter, like to write a song that was about like my grandparents or to write a song that was about my dog. Like it doesn't necessarily feel like a pop star move. Although like now it's kind of like, I don't know, I'm questioning even that, but it was very freeing to just feel like I can write about whatever is going on in my life, in my real life. And if it doesn't fit in Muna, then like maybe this is a place for it. And I do think that's like how a lot of this record came together.
I was very curious listening to this record, and it might be a bit of an obvious question, and I imagine something that you are being asked around this record, so I apologize, but it seems to I guess be an interesting point because you are one of the primary songwriters for one of the world's most popular and best bands.
Thank you.
How do you determine what is a Muna song and what is a Katie Gavin song? Like, is there usually a distinct flavor to it, or is it more that you kind of have to work it out as the process goes along?
Totally. I think that there are songs on the solo record that we tried as Muna songs. There were songs on the solo record that I sent to Naomi and Joe and they didn't want to work on them, but I can say this, whenever I write a song, I'm sending it to Naomi and Joe. Like they are my, like songwriting soulmates and collaborators. And if we all are excited about something and we want to work on it, then it's a Muna song. But I think there was something very cool about realizing that there were certain, like, maybe historically, if they didn't want to work on something, I would have thought, oh, it's just not a good song. And then like at some point, something shifted where it was like, maybe it's just not right for Muna, but it's still a song that I can care about, that like I want to see the light of day, you know? But yeah, I mean, they're pretty much all Muna rejects. There was a point where we were like going back over them, and they had talked about wanting aftertaste. We talked about this. We did like a podcast episode talking about the solo record, and yeah, at a certain point they were like, oh, we want to work on aftertaste now. But at that point I kind of needed a single for the album. So I was like, it's too late. You should have taken her when I first gave her to you. So yeah.
I absolutely love that. Also, I am very glad. I think maybe not the time we went to the record store, the first time we did speak about Chaotic and whether it would have a return. So I am very glad to see that the podcast has made its way back for you.
Yes, we can't stay away.
It is fantastic. We'll make sure that the podcast, along with the solo record, is put in the show notes of this chat so people can also visit and listen, subscribe. Earlier you mentioned As Good As It Gets, which is an absolutely stunning track. It is this kind of stark, it's warm, but also realistic and honest. And I didn't read, I kind of like to, when listening to records, when we're going to do promo or possibly speak to an artist, like to listen to the record without reading anything of the bio or the information that we're sent, to kind of take it in as almost blankly as possible. And it took me a second to work out who it was singing with you on that song. And then when I went back and found out, it was like Katie, Gavin and Mitski. I think you've just collectively blown the minds of quite a lot of people into indie music and queer music and everything else. How did this come about? How did duetting with Mitski kind of play out?
Yeah, I mean, Mitski, so the full context of the story, I think, would start in like January of 2020. I went to Nashville and did a couple of days with her songwriting, and I confided in her at the time that I was feeling like a little bit confused because I had these songs, but I didn't know, what to do with them. And she was like, well, it seems like you have a solo record. You should just like put out a solo record. And I don't think that she thought a lot of it, but she's become a friend, but she's never stopped like being an actual hero of mine. And I don't think I'll ever be like completely normal or chill about her. I wish that I could be, but she's just like truly my favorite living songwriter. And I'm so grateful for everything that she's written. Like, she's helped me so much as a person. So her saying that, I think I really took it, like, she didn't realize, but like I really took it as like I've been sent on a sacred mission by Mitski to like, create a solo record. So that was the beginning of it. And then I was in the studio with, so Phoebe is like my A&R person, Phoebe Bridgers, and Phoebe and my producer Tony and I were talking about the songs, and it was Phoebe's idea that it should be a duet. And I texted the song to Mitski. I just like shot my fucking shot. And he texted me back like 5 minutes later and was like, the song is beautiful. Like, I would love to do it. And called me the next day. She was on tour, so she had like a couple of days home in Nashville, and she recorded it remotely. And sent the stems to us, and that was that. And I'm just like, I'm so grateful that she made it work. And I just like, I know how kind of rare it is for her to do something like this, and it really means a lot to me. I don't think she necessarily realizes like how much she helped me in a way by doing that.
I absolutely love that. Thank you very much for sharing that story. I imagine, yeah, obviously it has worked out. It is a gorgeous track on this stunning record, but it's also just nice to hear that obviously it's still a beautiful thing that you're not only working with her, but still very much a fan of her and kind of enamored by the work that she does, as most people should be. But that's a different story. Katie, I think last time we spoke, we got into the origins of how the band formed. But for you, I'd love to hear how you got started as a songwriter, like what originally kind of attracted you to music and writing songs and writing lyrics.
Yeah, totally. I started writing songs. I was pretty young. I officially started when I started on violin when I was a kid, and then I saw Andrew Bird, and I started just playing my violin like a guitar. And so my mom played guitar in like Sunday school, and she let me use her guitar and got me a guitar teacher. And I learned a couple of chords and started writing songs, pretty much straight away. I think I used songs from a young age, both to like process what was going on in my life and to kind of develop like a fantasy life. I was writing songs about relationships when I was like a 10-year-old, like I never, been in a relationship with anyone. And then, it's just been a really consistent part of my life. Generally like on guitar. I was in like a few projects in high school and played shows on my own. And then when I was like 18, I learned how to use Ableton, and that kind of like morphed into, like when I met Naomi and Joe, we wanted to start like a pop band. But before that, I had been definitely like singer-songwriter, doing like residencies at Hamburger Mary's in Chicago. Just the normal thing you do.
Of course. Have you found that, and I know that there's some live dates that I want to talk about in a second, but have you found that it's kind of almost been like a return to form in that kind of sense, in that you're able to kind of revisit some singer-songwriter more roots than previously might have been performed or done in Moona?
I would say so, yeah. And it's also like the nice thing about kind of like performing as a singer-songwriter is you can, the production level is so low that there's, you can kind of, it's much more like free form. If you want to like do something different, or if you want to hop on somebody's set. Like the other night I went and played Inconsolable during my friend Amber Bain was whose project is called The Japanese House. She was playing the Greek, and she really loves Inconsolable. So like her band just learned the song and then we played it. Like it's like you can just kind of do it whatever way you want. And then also like in terms of return to form, I literally have been like relearning the violin, but I've been learning like fiddle style from my teacher plays pedal steel. Her name's Andrea Witt. She played pedal steel on the record. And then also from Sarah Watkins, who's in a band called Nickel Creek. And they play the record too. So like that's been really fun, is like just relearning an instrument that I haven't played since I was a kid.
That's very cool. I have an absolute soft spot for pedal steel. There's something about that just seems to melt people's hearts instantly. So that's super exciting.
It's the coolest. It's the coolest instrument.
I would 100% agree. Is there a track off the new record that you're looking forward to debuting live?
Oh man. We're doing some interesting arrangements of a few songs. I think I'm going to play Sweet Abbey Girl with this instrument called the shirty box. It's like kind of like a harmonium. And then my friend Nana, who's touring with me, is playing piano. So I think that arrangement will be cool live. I'm excited to play the baton because I'm going to do the fiddle solos. It's just like, I feel like I just have like fun homework assignments. Maybe as I get closer to tour, I won't feel like they're like as fun because I'll just be more stressed about it. But yeah, I'm excited to just be like trying shit.
Of course. Well, Katie, look, I have to ask a very, very quick question just as we wrap up. It might be very obvious. Can we maybe expect to see you in Australia with some shows at some point?
I would really love to come. Like, I think the question is going to be if it's before the next Moonicycle or if it's when I say Moonicycle, it always sounds like unicycle, but yeah, it'll just depend on like when we have the time, because the other thing I'm trying to be mindful of is like, I know that Moona fans want another Moona album, and frankly, I want one too. So like, there'll be a point where I have to get back in the studio, but I really want to play, like I said, like I want these songs to have a life. So I want to play them to everyone who wants to hear them.
Look, in whatever capacity we get to see Katie Gavin live, it is always an absolute treat. Katie, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast, and congrats on What a Relief. The album is out later this week when people are listening. But yeah, thank you again so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. It's nice to talk to you.